Before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to my sister Amy Archibald Varley and Sarah Fung, who are both nurses and hosts of the popular The Gritty Nurse podcast, which I edit, for the release of their new book, The Wisdom of Nurses, Stories of Grit from the Front Lines. When the COVID pandemic hit, the occupation most affected was the nursing profession, as they had to wear so many hats, endure all sorts of insanely long hours, and even sometimes encounter dangerous patients. The Wisdom of Nurses, from Amy's and Sarah's view, gives us a first-hand look at the compassion, selflessness, and dedication of these nurses, who not only give it all for their patients, but get up and do it over again and again. Amy and Sarah have quickly become sought-after speakers and advocates for nurses and are called on regularly by the media to talk about a wide range of issues around the profession. I have my signed copy because my sister, like the book, is awesome. Be sure to pick this up at any bookstore, order it online through Amazon.com or GrittyNurse.com, or you can even get an audiobook if you're too lazy to read. Pick up The Wisdom of Nurses today. You won't regret it. I could stare at Ryan Gosling's beautiful face for hours. No, really, that's the only way I can open this review. Ryan Gosling is sexy as fuck. But I'm telling you something that you already know. Here are my immediate thoughts on The Fall Guy. The Fall Guy is the latest action comedy romp starring Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, Winston Duke, and Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and is directed by David Leitch, who gifted us with such movies such as John Wick, Deadpool 2, Bullet Train, and Atomic Blonde. After leaving the business 1 year earlier, battle-scarred stuntman Colt springs back into action when the star of a big studio movie suddenly disappears. As the mystery surrounding the missing actor deepens, Colt soon finds himself ensnared in a sinister plot that pushes him to the edge of a fall more dangerous than any stunt. So for the uninitiated, this is a remake of a very popular television series of the same name from the 1980s that starred Lee Majors, and that was a fun show. And The Fall Guy 2024 is a fun movie, and most of that is attributed to Ryan Gosling, who is fantastic in this movie. Ryan Gosling is charming, he's funny, he has a bit of self-depreciating humor, and he does all of his own stunts. Colt had a stunt go horribly wrong at the opening of this movie, and it messes with him physically and emotionally, and Ryan Gosling is able to play that up really well along with his comedic timing. Gosling continues to show just how versatile of an actor he is, whether he is playing an aloof Ken doll, a bubbling detective, a stoic driver, a musical genius, or here as a head-over-heels in-love stuntman. Gosling just is able to make everything work, and if he was not able to get his role to work in The Fall Guy, this entire movie would fall apart. Emily Blunt plays Jodie, Colt's ex-girlfriend, who was once a camera operator, and now she is directing her first big-budget film, a sci-fi movie called Metal Storm, not to be confused with Metal Storm, The Destruction of Jared Sin in 3D. But Blunt here is really good as this confident filmmaker who is super bitter at Colt when he finds himself back in her life because Colt just basically ghosted her when he got injured. And there is a scene where Emily Blunt has Ryan Gosling just repeat a specific stunt over and over again, and she continues to add emotional subtext to the stunt, and each time it is just hilarious. And the subtext behind this story that Emily Blunt is giving to Ryan Gosling is great, and the chemistry and the sexual tension between the two of them is so good. And once again, Emily Blunt is just another great versatile actor who shows just how great she can be, whether it's in drama or comedy or action. And the love story between Colt and Jody, the love story that really kicked this film off proper, is the heart and soul of this film. While we do have the missing actor plot, it is the love story and the sexual chemistry and tension between Colt and Jody that really propels this plot forward. It is Jody being part of this new movie that gets Colt off of his ass and back into action. And every scene that they're in is just a masterclass of sexual tension, and it just adds to the screwball nature of this comedy. Winston Duke is great as Dan, the stunt coordinator, along with Colt's best friend, and it is really through him that we get to see how a lot of these Hollywood stunts work behind the scenes, and he's just great in this movie like he always is, and like everyone else, just has great comedic timing and great chemistry with Ryan Gosling. Aaron Taylor Johnson plays Tom Ryder, the stereotypical A-list actor, and he's good in the film. He's the one that probably has the least amount of character development in the movie. He just has one setting, douche bro, and he pretty much plays that throughout the entire movie. But it's a fun performance, and it's clear that he's having a lot of fun with it. Hannah Waddington, who I have christened as Tilda Swinton 2.0 in this film, plays Gail, and she is the movie producer. She's the one who puts Colt on this mission to find Aaron Taylor Johnson, and she's great. She's funny. There are a couple real laugh out loud moments that I had with her character, and she just seems to be totally coked up in this movie. Even though we never see her do a line, she is just super twitchy and anxious, and it's a great fun performance. I also want to give a shout out to Jean-Claude, Colt's stunt dog companion, who understands commands in French and is truly man's best friend and worst enemy, sometimes in the same scene, but he's a real scene stealer in this film. David Leitch, the director, who was once a stuntman himself, is clearly writing a love letter to the stunt community through The Fall Guy, and I absolutely adore that we got such an entertaining peek behind the curtain of the stunt community. And I also think that David Leitch is subtly, or maybe not so subtly, trying to tell the Oscars, hey, maybe we should have a category for stunt work. And I 100% agree. The Fall Guy has a real sense of humor when it comes to the making of a movie and how absurd it can be, and there are scenes where Emily Blunt has to fight off all sorts of crazy characters, whether it's actors or screenwriters, that are throwing all sorts of insane ideas at her to improve her movie. And the pacing of this movie is great. It keeps moving and escalating, and The Fall Guy really embraces the silly nature of the plot. There is one particular drug trip scene where Colt has to fight off a bunch of bad guys, and there is a unicorn that shows up, and it is absolutely hilarious, especially when that unicorn just happens to appear in one of the most unlikely places in this movie. Also, props to the movie for some of the needle drops here. It's clear that David Leitch really thought about what songs that he wanted to use, and most of them really work well to evoke the kind of emotion that he wanted to elicit from his audience. The only little thing that I would dock points from this movie off of, there is a plot twist that I saw like 6 miles away, but honestly, it didn't hinder my enjoyment of this movie. Also, there are a couple of really cool Easter eggs for fans of the original show and something from another popular Lee Majors property, so keep an eye and ear out for that. Overall, The Fall Guy was a real blast. Ryan Gosling continues to show why he's one of the best actors on the planet with his comedic timing and his physicality. The love plot with Emily Blunt works as she is a great character in herself, and the film holds up a great comedic mirror to the movie industry. This is a lovely homage to stunt and fight choreography, and those stunts and fights in this movie, complete with practical effects, are great. And in all honesty, I could see our main cast returning for another go around the block if this makes some money, and I would welcome it. This movie also does one of my favorite things, which is give us a real look at how the movie accomplished some of the stunts and fights in this movie, something most Jackie Chan films used to employ, and those are always appreciated from me. But yeah, see The Fall Guy, see it in a theater with the best sound, and just enjoy the ride. The Fall Guy is an enthusiastic blockbuster from me. At this point, I'm sure there isn't anything that Ryan Gosling can't do. Maybe it's every time I look into his sweet Canadian eyes and I just feel all this warmth and love and glow inside of my body. Oh, caught myself drooling there. That's not embarrassing at all. What did you think of The Fall Guy? Share your thoughts, leave your comments, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you can get notifications as well. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care.